welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine. I'm on episode 137. Hello, hello, hello. Let's start off this episode by giving a public service announcement to older niggas. Hello? Is my mic on? We're starting this episode to give a public service announcement to older niggas. Now, my voice may sound a little baritone-ish because I just had to get this off my chest at this point in time during the day. It's in the morning time as I'm recording this. And I just experienced something last night when I was out with some of my colleagues. Great time, by the way. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I just want to talk about older niggas. Let's just have a conversation about them for a second. I don't think there's enough conversations had about older men, older black men in particular. I'm not talking about any other type of men, older black men. Okay, let's start from the get-go. I was out last night with some of my colleagues, and there was this older man with us who I don't know who he is, but one of my colleagues do know him. And okay, cool. So he's like with our little circle. Okay, he's seated already, and we're in his, not in his area per se, but like the spot that we're at is super tight, and so you naturally share spaces with other people, and we just so happen to share a space with this older guy. Let's call him Era. I'm doing that for a particular reason. Era has an ERROR. Let's call him Era. I'm not even gonna say Era, nigga. I don't feel like doing all of that. Let's just call him Era. His first name does begin with the E, so that's also why I say Era. He's seated already because he was already there, and we're sharing the space with him because there's this hookah little machine thing that some of my colleagues are using, and we're just standing there dancing and just like vibing out. Okay, cool. He is like, already I knew he had an attitude. And I already was like, okay, I'm definitely not gonna turn his way. Like, I'm the type of person, like, I'm not going to feed into it. Like, I could feel the energy in the room. I could feel the energy that you're evoking right now. So I'm not going to entertain it until you get out of your funk. Then we could kiki or whatever. Okay, but no, this is gonna be a no for me, dog. He's seated. He has like a little bit of attitude or whatever. And I don't think he even introduced himself to all of us. And I don't remember if my colleague who knows him introduced us to him, or maybe she did very like quickly and I forgot. I don't remember. It wasn't memorable for a reason. Okay. So he finally turns to me because I'm now seated kind of near him. I finally sit down after standing up, and he turns to me. And I think he's been watching me because I think he's seeing some parts of my personality. I'm like joking about something, or I'm making a joke in that moment, or I'm laughing to one of my colleagues, and like I'm like initiating some level of a joke, right? So maybe he's seeing this side of my personality and feels like this is an opening to talk to me. And I think this is a mistake that a lot of you niggas do. If I'm laughing with someone who I already know, it doesn't mean I want to talk to you. It doesn't mean that the door is open for you to now come into this conversation because you see my smile as an opening. Hello? I'm talking to someone who I already know. How did you come in? And then, I try to think about myself here. I always like to look inward. I like to be introspective a lot, maybe too much. But I like to look inward and think to myself, maybe I'm being closed off, right? Maybe I'm not being open enough, and I'm not allowing myself to enjoy and get to know new people. No, the answer is no. I'm right. I am closed off for a particular reason, and this nigga showed and proved that reason to be true. So okay, I noticed he was like nope, like seeing me or like watching me in moments when I'm like reacting to something or making a point about something, and I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm like doing something that seems to be a, a gateway to approach me, right? Um, Mind you, he's seated. We're already in a dark room. It's basically a dormitory, how small the spot is. And he's already wearing dark glasses inside the building. Sir, can you see? He's wearing, it's not prescribed. It's tinted, it's fully tinted. His glasses are useless, and it also makes you come off very arrogant. When niggas wear glasses, like Men in Black glasses, inside a building that's already dark, you're already an asshole. You're a certified asshole. Like, okay, nigga, what are we doing? Do you not have eyes? Are you like Music Soul Child? Are your eyes like crossed extremely? What's wrong with your eyes that you can't show them when you're already in a dark room? It's just weird to me. But okay, fine. Everyone has their personal style. Respect it. We gotta be able to express ourselves, right? Okay. So, okay, cool. So I'm seated kind of next to him, and he leans in towards me. And you know, when you, even though I wasn't looking his way, I still am looking his way because I'm looking everywhere. Like, I could be facing forward, but I know exactly what's going on to my left. I know what's going on in my right. I know what's going on behind me. I know what's going on outside. Like, I have eyes everywhere. I like to be on guard. That's just how I was raised or how I was conditioned, okay? So he leans in towards me. I'm like, okay, he's about to say something to me. What's he gonna say? He leans into me, and then he asked me his first time even speaking to me. He asked me a question. The question is, "How old are you?" He's like, "Oh, how old are you?" And I'm like, "Huh?" In my head, I say, "Huh." Mind you, thankfully, I'm not one of those girls who are very shy or find it offensive to share your age. I don't see age that way. I see it in honor to be older, right? I see it as God's blessing. I really do. Maybe I'm very wonky with it, but like, I look at things very spiritual, and I think it's an honor. I would rather be 30 than dead, right? I would rather be 35 than dead. I would rather still be living and still be at the age that I'm living and just stand in that. I think it's an honor to be your age, no matter what age you are. When you get older, for some reason, there's a lot of women who are very trepidatious when it comes to sharing their age, and it's just so weird to me. Like, girl, what? It's a blessing. You're here. You're blessed to be here. People who are dead, many spirits who are no longer in the body of flesh, are envious because they would rather be alive, from what I have like researched and stuff. But anyway, yeah, so I see it as an honor. I don't see it as a weird thing. But in that moment, being that he didn't ask me anything before, being that he didn't say anything to me before, and your first question is, how old am I? It just was a little weird. Again, I wasn't offended. It was just like, okay, I'm 30. So I said, I'm 30. And then he just sits back. He just literally go back to his former position and continue smoking his hookah. And I'm like, what? In my head, like, what the fuck? Are you going to open this conversation up, or was that it? Was that it for the night? Mind you, again, like, I really don't give a fuck about him, but like, there's a way to introduce yourself to someone. There's a way to approach someone. And let's be very honest. Let's keep the disclaimer very clear. Nobody is checking for this nigga. I'm not checking for anybody else. I am very happy with the one I'm with, okay? But in the meantime, in between time, don't approach me for the first time and your first question is, how old are you? That's just weird to me. So I go back to him. I'm like, okay, how old are you? He tells me he's 51. Already red flag, because now I'm going back to my Rolodex of thoughts, right? I'm going back to my Rolodex of thoughts, and I'm like, oh, this nigga who is in this small ass building with all of us is wearing Men in Black glasses in this dark ass room. He's already arrogant. He is seated where he is amongst a bunch of women and is hardly not entertaining us, but like not even like respecting us. Like, not, how do I say it? Not to say he was disrespecting us, but he wasn't caring about us. And yes, this is your first time meeting all of us, but I feel like if you're a gentleman, you're a gentleman, period. No matter who you're around, no matter if you've met this woman for the first time, you are a gentleman. You're going to say, oh, hi, how you doing? I'm X, Y, and Z. What's your name? Or there's a way to be in your body language that immediately demonstrates respect and gentleman-like. And he didn't at all express that. He didn't demonstrate that. He was very much of an arrogant asshole. Like, there was just this arrogance about him, this air of arrogance, as if women are to chase him and to come towards him, and he's like this king on the throne. Like, nigga, you are wearing a gym shirt right now in this dark room while wearing Men in Black glasses. I promise you, no women is going to come after you. I promise you. Shit, maybe women around his age, but I promise you, a 30-year-old woman like me will not be one of those women. Let's be very, very clear. So he's seated. So he tells me his age after I asked him. He's 51. And again, it immediately intensifies the arrogant assholeness of it all. So he then proceeds to, at this point, I'm standing up again. I stand up again, and he happens to be standing up as well. And then he leans into me again, and he tells me, which is another poor approach. This nigga tells me, he says, let me describe what I'm wearing. So not at this point, I was wearing it the whole time I arrived at the spot. But anyway, at this point, I'm wearing basically my titties were tittying. Okay, what I mean by that, they were sitting very well, as they do. Praise God, I love my body. I love my tits. But I prayed for these. I remember being younger and praying for breasts like mine. And look at God. All you gotta do is pray. Can't tell me prayer don't work. No, but anyway, I'm wearing this like semi-crop top that is very it's fitted, and it's like a camisole, so it's like spaghetti straps essentially, and you see like the curvaceous of my breasts and all that. Okay. And I'm wearing jeans and some strappy heels. That's my outfit. Very cute, very simple, but still bang bang, So that was the vibe I was going into it with. And so that's the context. So just imagine that outfit on me, okay? So he leans into me, and he then tells me, this 51-year-old nigga tells me, are you ready to hear what he tells me? He says, "You're deceptively fine." Yeah, please drop the mic. Pull over the car. Are you driving right now? Pull over the car and listen again. This 51-year-old man who's wearing Men in Black glasses and Under Armour gym shirt tells me that I am deceptively fine. What does that mean? Please tell me what that means. And mind you, he said it and was just like, and he just leaned back. Like, he just said it and was like, okay, drop the mic. So of course I'm curious because what the fuck? Because it sounds kind of like a compliment, right? Okay, you call me fine, that's the compliment, but then it sounds like a backhanded compliment, and the backhanded part is deceptively. So you're trying to tell me I'm not initially fine, but I tricked you into realizing how fine I am. Either way, it just, what are you doing? I feel like some people, some men, some black men try to approach women on like a weird, argumentative, provoking tip when you could just say, "Hey, how you doing?" You could just start off like, it could literally be that simple. It could just be, "Hey, how are you? My name is, you're so beautiful. I just want to tell you that." It could just be so simple. But no, he starts off and tells me, "You're deceptively fine." And I'm like, "Okay, what do you, that's hilarious." I tell him, "That's hilarious. What do you mean by that?" He says, "The way that I'm dressed, it appeared like my body shape is not fully obvious, but he could read between the lines, basically." So because of the jeans that I'm wearing, I assume because they're not super fitted, and I don't like to wear too fitted jeans because they just feel so tight on me. I like to feel free, so that's why I like my jeans a little bit. Like I like boyfriend style jeans. I like baggy, a little bit baggy style jeans. So basically with the jeans that I had on, you can't really see too much of the sculpture of my ass, right? You can't really see too much of the sculpture of my thighs. You can't really see that unless you really see that, right? Unless you really try and you are looking deep into me, right? And so he's explaining to me that because of what I'm wearing, it doesn't come off that I'm as fine as I am. But he says how he could really, like, he could see underneath it all, and he knows that I have a nice body. And he's just like, and then he goes on to say, what he say? He goes on to say that oh, he could tell that I'm younger. He could tell that I'm 30 because of what I'm wearing also. Like I'm not wearing all these like name brand type of material on. So I probably don't have the money like that to wear that. So that's how he's saying all this to me, y'all. And I'm just like, is this the Twilight Zone? And he's going down a whole assessment into who I am when it could just simply be, "Hey, how are you?" Like, and I'm laughing because I'm like, I don't give a fuck what he says about me. Like, what's your name again? Era. Your name is Era, right? Okay. Like, I don't care. So, but it's just a point of contention that I wanted to share here on this podcast episode, because a lot of these older guys really feel like they have the audacity. You know that book that Barack Obama wrote or, published, whatever, The Audacity of Obama, I forgot the title, The Audacity of Barack. This nigga had the audacity. He had that same audacity. Like, wow, this man, this 51-year-old wearing Men in Black glasses, wearing his whole gym attire at a club, has the audacity to come to me. And if we want to play like age entitlement, come to a 30-year-old woman and says this. And I think this is like this war, this undercover war between older men, older black men, and younger black women. And it comes from this idea of, well, younger black women is seeking for attention and sugar daddy support, essentially, when they are with an older black man. And the older black man is feeling like they're the prize because, hey, I could sponsor your whole life, so you need me, essentially. So I'm going to be this asshole that I want to be towards you, and you're just going to have to take it. And that's why I said what I said in my last episode of this podcast, how I talked about just when I think about money and I think about dating, I never want to appear or demonstrate a need for my partner to pay for anything for me, because I don't ever want to, one, feel entitled, nor do I want to be under your control, especially if you're that type of black guy older black guy who's very, who feels like they're the shit, so much so that I gotta kiss your ass. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I would love for, like if you're in a relationship, your partner to want to take the load off of X, Y, and Z. That's nice and all, but I don't hold that. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm playing myself. Maybe I should look at it differently. I don't know. I'm literally thinking about this out loud right now. But again, I do it primarily because, one, I was raised that way. Like, my parents never raised me to be financially dependent on another person, period, regardless of relationship status. Like, it was just on some, make sure you take care of yourself. You know, you go to school, you get your degree, you're smart, you're capable, you're able to work and support yourself. Be able to do that. Don't depend. And yeah, that was my mom's, my mom and dad are married and all that. My mom was always in that mindset. My dad was always too. Like, make sure you can support yourself, take care of yourself. Don't depend on anyone. You have to be able to support yourself. And that has always been my mindset. So when I've been in relationships and being in this relationship that I am in, I don't see it as an opportunity to, well, go ahead and take care of me. I won't do anything anymore. It's just, I don't look at it that way. So when I say it seems like there's this undercover war between younger black women and older black men, because these older black men really believe that, oh, these younger black women are seeing me as this prize and they're trying to get something out of me. So I'm going to make them pay. I'm going to make them suffer a bit by giving them a backhanded compliment, by making them feel like they're not the shit, by kind of dumbing them down. And that's what I'm seeing Era in this moment do. He's saying, oh, I'm deceptively fine. He's calling me out for not wearing name brand clothing. He is like not as, it's just weird. It's very weird. So what else happened? There was a couple of other moments that made me realize, oh yeah, he's so corny. He okay, so then he tried to spark a conversation, finally, like a regular person. And he asked me, where did I go to school? And whenever people in Houston or just like people outside of Massachusetts or outside of the Northeast ask me that question, I'm typically faced with people who will have no idea what school that I'm referring to, that I went to for my undergrad. But people have more of an idea of my graduate school, Boston University. So I typically, when people ask me what school did I went to or graduated from, I just say, oh, I went to a school up north, right? I just say, oh, I went to school in Boston. I went to school in Connecticut. Because I'm typically faced with, oh, I don't know where that is, or okay, I never heard of it. It's like, I don't feel like going through the whole, oh, it's next to Bridgeport, it's in the West Haven. It's just, nigga, okay, you don't know. Look it up next time in case you remember. Like, I really don't care enough in this moment to continue this small talk with you when all you've ever known is Atlanta and Houston. You know, like when people have only lived in certain areas in their life, in one or two different states, in one hemisphere, you won't know what I'm talking about. You won't know. Like, if you only live in Atlanta and you were born and raised in Houston and you maybe traveled to New Orleans here and there, you won't know that you won't know what a University of New Haven is. They'll ask me, oh, where's that? You know, if you can't even tell me where New Haven is, then we don't need to have this conversation. We don't. In this dark room, while you're wearing Men in Black glasses, we don't need to have this conversation. That's just my take. Okay, So I respond like that. I say, oh, I went to a school up north. I went to a school in Connecticut. And he's like, that's not what I asked you. Already argument. He's like, that's not what I asked you. What I asked you was, what school did you go to? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to say I went to, he's like, no, what he said, basically, why did I respond that way? Like, I asked you, what school did you go to? I didn't ask you where your school is. I asked you, what school did you go to? And I explained to him why I responded that way. Just what I said to you guys right now, how typically people don't know what school I'm talking about. So then he tried to give me context by saying, oh, well, I went to, he's saying how he went to Salem University, which I feel like he just pulled out his ass. But because it's, in the Northeast, then he will have more of an idea of where my school is. So I did tell him, so I ended up telling him the name of the school that I went to for undergrad and where I went to for graduate school. But that was it. Like, the conversation just ended there. It wasn't like, oh, I lived in Boston for 5 years when I was in my 40s. Like, it wasn't like a conversation needed to be. He just wanted to know these quick bit facts about me. And I'm like, you did all of that to be, like, it was just too aggressive. Like, why you gotta say, well, that's not what I asked you, nigga? That's how I answered. That's how I answered. That's how I chose to answer your question. Okay, so what happens now? I tell you where I went for undergrad. I tell you where I went for graduate school. What now? Like, that's why I hate small talk. Where are we going with this conversation? Do you know a connect from Boston that you wanted to just share with me in this moment? Did you want to share how you lived in Boston for 5 years? And you want to talk about your transition from Boston to Houston? Like, do you want to talk? Like, we could have those moments. But if you're just asking me these quick bit questions, I keep on saying it weird, quick bit questions, then for what? So now he's like getting a little argumentative with me. I'm like, well, that's how I chose it. He's like, well, he's like, yeah, that's not what I asked you. I'm like, well, I chose to answer it that way because X, Y, and Z. So then he says, what he said? He's like, well, you gotta open your circle more. You gotta change people in your circle if that's the answer that you always get, that they don't know where your school is. And I'm like, it's not people in my circle, nigga. I didn't say that part. I didn't say the nigga part. I said it's not people in my circle. It's random niggas that come up to me. I said that's it. I said it's not people in my circle. It's random niggas who come up to me and ask me questions like this. That's what I said to him. He kind of like pushed back, and I think he kind of laughed, and then the conversation kind of ended again. And so it then leads into another moment when he was seated at a particular chair in our little space area. Mind you, everyone is sharing the same it's no one's particular seat, right? It's a shared space. So I happened to sit down at his seat, quote unquote, right? He was up and out for a minute. Like, he went to the bar, he went somewhere, I think he was talking to other women. I don't give a fuck. He finally comes back, right? And he sees that I'm seated in his seat. He's standing in front of me, y'all, and he does this like motion with his hand, like, get up, that's my seat. Get up, that's my seat. That's what he says to me, y'all. And I don't think I don't know if his attitude was trying to be funny. It was hard to really tell in that moment. The music's loud. The DJ booth is right next to us here. And he tells me, get up, that's my seat. And I'm looking at him like, are you serious right now? He's like, yeah, that's my seat, get up. And I'm like, so I turn around, I look around to some of my colleagues who was around me, and they're kind of shocked too. So I'm gonna get up because, nigga, you could have your $2 seat. I'll be fine standing up. That's fine. So thankfully, my dope ass colleague, who's a man, got up like the gentleman that he is and gave me his seat. Again, I didn't need a seat. I was just seated. I just wanted to sit down for that second. But he got up because he's a gentleman and gave me his seat. And prior to me seated to the new seat, Era tells me, he's like, he laughs at me, like not at me, but like he's like laughing while he's saying this. He says, I love you. I'm just playing. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Ha 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 ha. But he still sits down in his seat. Don't get me wrong. But actually, he got up. He wanted me to get up because I noticed he had a woman with him, and he brought her to his seat. So he wanted her to sit down, which is like, okay, nigga. But anyway, he says that. He's like, no, he didn't say, I love you. What, like, nigga, I just met you. He said, oh, I like you. I'm just messing with you. Yeah, that's what he said. I'm just messing with you. I'm like, okay. It's hard to tell. And I just was serious with him afterwards. It was just weird. So then I sit down at my colleague's seat, who's a gentleman, and offered me got up for me to sit down. Just like really nice. But it was just like, why is there like this pull and tug, this tug and war between older black men and younger black women? I just don't understand. Like, what is it that you feel like I want or need for you? I didn't approach you. I was never interested in you. I didn't look your way. And he wanted so much attention. He wanted me to kiss the feet that he walks on or whatever. Kiss his feet. That's what he wanted me to do, and I just was not impressed. Like, okay, nigga, you come up to me and you say I'm deceptively fine. Am I supposed to react well to that? Am I supposed to be impressed? It's so funny to me, and thank God I have a sense of humor. But it's just so funny because I think about like, if I was a real, like, just angry person, it would have been an argument immediately, Oh, Lord, thank God for growth. But, yeah, so I ended up not having to leave, but I finally left, like, probably an hour or two later, and it was a great night nonetheless. I went around to hug all of my colleagues, the people who I do know, right? The people who I do know and do like. And I think he was waiting for me to hug him because he was like standing in between me and my colleague. And I went around him and hugged my colleague. Like, nigga, I don't fucking know you. And I'm not trying to get to know you. But I still think like even though I'm not checking for any nigga, right? I'm not checking for anybody else. I feel like just being a woman, there should just naturally be some level of respect I'm given. There should be a level of chivalry that I'm given, even though I'm not checking for you, even though I'm not interested in you at all. There should naturally be just a level of chivalry that I'm experiencing every time I'm around niggas. And that's just on period. Like, I just think it's so weird how you have a man who's seated while there are 3 women standing in front of him. Not once did Era ask any one of us, do you guys want to sit down? Like, are your legs so tired you have to sit down in front of women? That is such a turnoff to me. Like, and I also see it as a hedge of protection. As a man, even though, yes, we're in this shared environment and it seems to be safe, we're fine, you never know what could happen. Your instinct instantly should be to protect women and black women, if you want to add that to the card. But you should protect black women at all costs, whether you know us or not. So in that moment, he should have asked one of us asked us if we wanted to sit down. If we said no, then we said no. But he never asked any one of us, or he didn't ask me. I don't know if he asked any of my other colleagues. And you should just want to stand around us women, because you standing up is essentially a hedge of protection for women. Rather than us, you see, there's three of us women standing up while he's seated down, as if the gender roles are now switched. Now we're standing up protecting him from what, nigga? Like, who are you? It was just so weird to me. So I just really want to say to all, 51-year-old niggas and above, y'all are corny as hell. Y'all are corny as hell. You're not the prize. And I want to just make it very clear for women to be who you want to be. And what I mean by that is, be that support that you may want from your partner, already be that support on your own. Already be that financial support on your own. So that if and when you are with someone who wants to support you financially, you're not in need of it. You're just in want of it, right? You may desire it, but it's not necessarily something that you need. Like, you're not dependent upon this man to take care of you. And this is all that I've experienced. Like, this was my assessment all in that moment. This was all that I was able to gather from that moment. And I'm like, let me just go ahead and share this on the pod, because I think, I just really want to pop the bubble that's in these older guys' heads that they really think they're the shit. I really want to continue to stamp out how chivalry is essential and it's important. Whether or not you are romantically interested in that person, chivalry is still necessary. I don't care who I'm with. If you're a man and I'm with you, we could be going out with colleagues, we could be going out, whatever the case is. Hold the fucking door. Hold the fucking door for me. Hold the door. Open the door and let me in first. Walk on the outside while I'm on the inside of the sidewalk. Let me sit on the inside of the booth while you sit on the outside. Like, there's just these natural chivalrous things that could be done on a daily that just demonstrates your character, your gentleman-like behavior. That is just commendable. Just be that. Just be that person. Just be that nigga. Be that person. Don't feel like that's only reserved for the woman you are romantically interested in. You should be that same way towards your sister, towards your mom, towards your aunt, towards your female cousins. Child, I just cannot. That's why I still believe in gender roles. They still are a thing. I know we want to live in a world where gender is a social construct, and you could be a woman today, a man tomorrow, and you could be a plural pronoun and a singular pronoun today and tomorrow. Like, I get it. We live in a world where up is down and down is up, but I'm still going to operate in the reality that I want to see, in the perception that I want to see as reality. And my reality needs to include men who are naturally chivalrous. Whether I'm interested in them romantically, whether they are interested in me romantically, I deserve to be chivalred too. So, thankfully, I have a man in my life who is that way, chivalrous. But it's just so disheartening when you see other men out there who are totally not chivalrous and who don't give a fuck and who really think they're the shit. And it's like, but you're wearing Men in Black glasses right now. And another thing. I'm going to put a pin on this topic to finally move forward to another topic. But he was also asking, so first he asked me, he's like, are you single? I said, no, I am not. And then he proceeded to pretty much tell me about myself. He was saying how, after he said the whole comment of me being deceptively fine, he said that I appear as this like strong black independent woman, and basically all the trope that a lot of people will put upon black women, this whole independent, strong, smart, take no shit type of woman. And though, yes, there's a compliment in there, but it's also, you don't know me though. Like, I don't like when people feel like they are within the grounds of telling me who the fuck I am. I'm sorry. Last time I checked, I'm the one who's Maxine Morency. Are you? Are you Maxine Morency? Is it you? Did my mom give birth to you instead of me and named you Maxine Morency? No. So don't tell me about myself, especially when it's your first accord of seeing me. So when he's saying these things, I'm standing there, I'm just like, again, I'm not feeding into it because I feel like he presents himself in that moment, at least, as this argumentative type of character. You know, earlier when he said, well, that's not what I asked you, when he was asking me about what school I went to. It's like, nigga, you don't fucking know. You don't know. So I'm just going to say I went to a school in Boston. I went to a school in Connecticut. That's it. But it's just, again, these older black men, there is a chip on y'all's shoulder, and I want to help you remove it. I want to chip it off for you. I want you to get to a point in life, hopefully soon, where you are comfortable in your identity, you are comfortable in your age, you are comfortable in your status in life, and you don't feel like you have the right to tell women who they are and what place they need to be. If I'm not your woman, right? If I am not in obligation to you in some sort, even that's already toxic, but you know what I mean. Like, if I do not have any loyalty towards you, then there is no fundamental reason for you to meet me day one and proceed to tell me about myself when you don't even know me. It's just weird. Oh my God. That whole exchange was just like, wow, noted, noted, noted. And it just sparked this conversation to have on the pod. So again, older black men, I really want you all to do better. Okay. And I'm saying, though I had this exchange with one black older guy in this moment, doesn't mean that I'm saying all older black men is the same. I say plural language because I see in the media, you know, when you see Kevin Samuel, who is of a particular age, he's at least 45. So within that range, you see a lot of like this kind of hate towards women from men, from some men in that bracket. Like, what happened? Let's sit down and talk about what happened. What did your mama do to you? So, yeah, just a weirdo, just a fucking weirdo. Now, let's talk about how I am a world-class swimmer. Yes, it is I. I have revealed another part of my identity to you all, and I hope you can accept me as I am. Okay, I'm saying this because I took swim lessons for a few weeks now because I always wanted to learn how to swim. I never learned when I was younger. And this is a point in my history that, like, a lot of people who grew up the way that I grew up, like in the same city, same cultural background, many of them also did not have the experience of swimming, which is interesting because I remember dating a guy before and he would say, you don't know how to swim, you're Haitian. It's like, yeah, but I didn't live on an island, nigga. Like, no, I didn't know how to swim. Like, what? People just have these weird ideas of things that you should just automatically know how to do because, oh, you come from a particular ethnic background, which would make sense if I lived in Haiti, right? Like, it would make sense if I lived in Haiti, if I stayed on an island, if I was in a country that only had water. Like, okay, that would make sense. But no, my parents didn't just drop me in a pool. Like, a lot of the peers that I'm around now would say, oh, they learned how to swim because their father just dropped them in a river and they just figured it out. Like, what? Which is interesting and cool, but I never had that experience. So I love the water. I always wanted to learn how to swim, and I told myself, you know what? Let me go ahead and finally learn and finally just like try. And that's what I did. So thankfully there is a YMCA just like literally right around the corner from where I live, like 3-minute walk, if that. And I decided, you know what, let me see what they offer. Looked into that. Uh, Signed up for the swim lessons, and I'm so happy the instructor was amazing. She was a great teacher, super young girl. I don't know how old I didn't ask her, but I know she was definitely younger than me. But she was just a really great instructor and was patient with me and was really made sense of the different techniques that she showed me, and just she showed me the fundamentals, and that's what I needed. Because I remember, like, when I was grow up, like when I would be in, because I've always been in pools, I've always been in the body of water, I love water, like I said. But when people would try to show me, like, officially how to swim, they'll just show me, like, in such a haste type of way. Just do this, kick your leg, like, huh? Wait, I don't know how to breathe underwater yet. Can we start from there? You know, like, there was some things that I just didn't know. Oh, this is essential. And mind you, what's funny is that I remember growing up when I would take baths, because, you know, I had a bathtub, and I would take baths and I always put my head underwater to, like, just kind of breathe in the water and blow bubbles. But I didn't realize that this is a technique that you'll use in swimming. Like, you'll use your breath underwater to breathe in the water. That helps you to float. That helps you to, yeah, just swim even more. So I was learning all these techniques during my swim lessons at the YMCA, and it just started with the fundamentals, and that's what I needed to learn, just like the fundamentals and just the techniques that she just introduced me to. And so I know how to float now on my front, on my stomach, and on my back. I know how to kick my legs and, like, move through the water and swim. And I know how to glide. So all these things are now the essentials that I do know how to do. And what I realized was my fear when it came to swimming was just literally letting my body be submerged in the water. When I would try to let my second foot off, like, the ground, I wouldn't do that. Like, I will still hold on to the ground. There was still this panic within me. So I was so grateful that I grew from, like, I finally let go of that fear, and it's definitely subsided. Like, it's not as strong. It's really not strong anymore. And I just feel this sensation, like, okay, let me just go ahead and go into it. Basically, what I learned throughout this process was to be intentional. With swimming, you are really in touch with your body. You're really in touch with just, you're at peace with the water. The water is your water. Like, you are with the water. You're not against the water. You don't have to fight the water. Just be in the water. And with the spirit of intention is you're really present in that moment. You're thoughtful in that moment. So when my instructor would show me the initial move to start off at, she'll show me an example. She'll explain the technique. I'm a talk and I'll ask questions. So what does this mean? And so she'll explain the technique of floating and how your breath, when you hold it, it holds you up, and that, like, you're your own floating device. She did help me with the use of the noodle and the floating device and stuff, so that does help. But she just showed me more of the techniques that I could use, just that's already internal. So that was really great, and I just feel so proud of myself. Like, wow, I wanted to learn how to really do something, and I took the step to go ahead and do that. And I share this because I think oftentimes we think, well, I'm a certain age, I've already passed the boat. And I said that to myself before about swimming. Like, well, I think it's much easier if you learn it when you're a kid, because when you're a kid, you're more fearless, right? You're more brave as a kid. And I think to myself, like, well, that's such a limited mindset to have. When you get older, yes, you are more aware of challenges and obstacles, and you're really, just in this world, and you're just doing your best to conquer. But you have to continuously be intentional every day. And so with swimming, I think about like the intention with being at one with your body, at one with the water. It's a life skill. And to not limit yourself in thinking, oh, well, I'm 30 right now. I should have learned how to swim years ago. No, I can't swim anymore. That's such a limited mindset. So I came into the session every day, every Saturday, thinking to myself, okay, I'm doing it right now. Okay, I'm doing it again. Okay, like, so you put one step in front of the other and you just continue to try and you continue to be at peace. You continue to be at one with the session and you're not allowing any distractors get in the way. I'm giving her, my instructor, my full attention. I'm just really there. I'm present. So I learned to be more present, more in the now, more intentional, and it just bleeds into other facets in my life. I think about just the bravery that I had to come to Houston, Texas, and set this life and cultivate this life for myself. And wow, I did that. I did that for myself because I said I wanted to do it, and I just put one foot in front of the other. Many times I didn't know what I was doing. Many times I thought this was foolish. Maybe I should have just stayed back home in Boston, but I stayed committed and I stayed in this intention to change my life into the life that I wanted for myself. And so I say this to say you could really do whatever you want. Like there's no limit. There's no limit. There's no time construct. You know, time is an illusion. What is time? What is age? You know, I mean, don't be with someone underage. But the point is, you can still accomplish that goal that you always wanted to accomplish, that desire that you always wanted to fulfill. And there's still some more desires and goals that I still want to accomplish and conquer, and we're getting there, step by step. But I just want to say I'm a world-class swimmer. Like, hello? Michael Phelps, who? It's Maxine Morency. But yeah, I'm just really so proud of myself. I'm mad that the sessions are already over. Like, I really think the last session, so I went to one today. I had every Saturday. And the one prior to today was another great session. Like, I could really just map out my progress. And I wish there would be like at least two more, like something to kind of show out, like, oh, look how much I've grown. But anyway, I do see the growth anyway, and I wanted to just give myself the pat on my back, like, wow, I did that shit. So yeah, this is just to say to continue to live, continue to try, continue to conquer, and go forth and go towards your goals or whatever that is. Married at first sight. My God. I mean, where does one begin? So I just want to say Johnny is toxic. He is emotionally abusive, and I just whenever I see his face, I want to light it up with a match. Like, I want to blow his head off. And when he does that little face when he gets mad, when he's about to blow up, because Bao is not in the moment like he is, that bullshit ass, what the fuck are you talking about, nigga? Just get the heart right. Like, you're painting a picture. I want the heart to be in alignment because we're connecting the photos together. How am I not in the moment? Know how to paint, huh? Anyway, so the latest episode of Married at First Sight, you have Johnny just showing out. Now, people are comparing Johnny and Chris from the previous season of Married at First Sight. Let's see if I could draw some similarities. Yes, they're both emotionally abusive, but they do it differently. So with Johnny, though, Johnny wasn't outright blatantly insulting Bao. Like, he wasn't calling her ugly or unattractive at any sort. Like, he wasn't doing that. And that may also just be how he's raised. Like, he's Asian. Like, I don't think, like, do they even know the word ugly? Like, I don't know. Like, how do they even communicate when it comes to describing a woman or being attracted? Like, they don't. It's not the same. Like, I know how a black man communicates. I don't know about Asian men. So let me just be very clear with that. With Chris, you have him. Again, this is Chris from the previous season, Married at First Sight. You have him just being a complete asshole. But I've seen black men do this. Some black men do this. So I'm used to that type of energy from them, where, you know, when Chris was like, I don't understand why you match me with this, why you match me with Paige when there's so many other queens in Atlanta, so many other black queens, and just completely shitting on her. Johnny has never said anything outright blatant like that. What's interesting though, he said in the previous episode of the season that he doesn't know if he's attracted to Bao, yet they have had sex. I know that. And it seems like he is attracted to her. I don't know. It seems like he's not attracted to her. Like, I don't think he finds her disturbing, right? I just think he's just a weirdo. Like, there's a lot of weirdo is the theme of this episode, huh? I just think he's a weirdo. I really do. I think he because he sees affection in this like distorted point of view, he comes off very weirdo like. When he's talking about how he wants his wife to make the first move basically all the time. He wants his wife to be the affectionate one, to be the big spoon. Nigga, if that's not unattractive, I don't know what that is. And maybe that's my toxic trait. But I always see it as the man is holding me. What? Hello? What? What do you mean I'm holding you? To do what? I'm holding your account. I could hold your hand, but you're holding me. Like, I'm not. What are we talking about? Sure, there are moments when you can hold your. I just feel like it's so weird to me because the man's back is bigger than yours, right? Like, that. What are we doing right now? What do you mean I'm holding you? That is just so laughable to me. Like, I'm holding you like I'm your man. It just, I guess I'm very rigid in my idea of what cuddling looks like, but I always just see it as the man protecting me. Like, it's always about protection for me. Like, I want to feel protected and safe with you. And if I'm holding you, who the fuck is beating the bad guy when we see the bad guy in the alley? Is it me or you? Huh? Who the fuck is going to, kill the robber who comes into our home? Is it me or you? I mean, both of us could do it at the same time, however we could, fight him off. But, like, ultimately, am I safe with you? Or do you, is it switch? What is going on? And Johnny presents himself as someone who I don't think Bao could feel safe with. Like, is he someone who's like, he defends his women, his woman? Is he someone who takes care of his woman? He's not this provider, this protector. And that is ultimately what I look for when a partner's in my, like, that's what I see. Like, it's does he make me feel safe? Does he make me feel secure? And thankfully I feel that way with my man, but it's just so weird when you see this example of a couple on TV and he's like, he's so comfortable with being the quote unquote little spoon. I never understood that whole analogy, the little spoon and big spoon. Why are spoons? Oh, I guess when you like put a spoon together, they hug each other because of the top of the spoon. Hold on, I think it's making sense to me now. Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, like, no. The man's gonna be the big spoon. Like, this is not a discussion. This is not a point of contention. This is not a negotiate. You're the man. Hold me tight. What are we doing? And we've seen scenes of Bao literally holding Johnny from the back. Like, she might as well fuck him from the back too. At this point, peg him then. If you want to be pegged, just say that. If you want to be pegged, Johnny, just say that. Another thing, and that's another thing. These women out here, these feminist women out here who are so adamant about pegging their man, that's a red flag for me, dog. You want me to do what to your ass? You want me to, I'm sorry, what? And I feel like Johnny will be down for that. He will be down for Bao to peg him. At that point, throw the whole experiment away. Call Dr. Call, Pennington, Penny, Dr. Pennywise, every doctor. Call them to the table. I will no longer be a part of this experiment. Cut the cameras off. Go ahead and find me, because this is not what I signed up for. Oh, child. I could not. I could not. But yeah, I think Johnny definitely wants to get pegged. That's my assessment. And I need Bao to get out. Straight Jordan Peele. Get out. Just get out and get out. That's all. I'm really disappointed with his ways, and I'm really proud of Bao and how well she knows who she is. You can tell that she is secure in her identity. But it's also, again, with what I've been talking about lately, of this whole being the bigger person, being the adult in a situation. It's sucky because you have to deal with a child. You have to deal with someone who is poor at communicating, and you have to still maintain this level of maturity when very well deserving of a lash out. Like, that person on the receiving end is very well deserving of you wilding out on them. But because you are this mature person, because you are an adult, you are maintaining this identity that you have grown to become and that you have worked hard to become. And you shouldn't allow anyone, no matter where they are in their emotional, spiritual journey, you shouldn't allow them to take you off of this path that you're on in your life, in your growth. So I respect that in Bao. I do. I don't want Johnny to continue to take her for granted. He's talking about, well, you don't cook gourmet. Nigga, what the fuck are you talking about? Go order from Uber Eats and shut up. What? Me cooking for you every day is going to determine how committed I am in this? What? Like, and the thing is, when he's in these moments when he wants to express himself, he always has to have a drink beforehand. You notice that? He always has to have a drink beforehand before he finally shares his truth and his feelings about something. And he just goes off like, well, you think you've been consistent this whole time? You think you've been giving 100%? Like, nigga, relax. Like, first of all, calm down. First of all, let's start there. Calm the fuck down. Who are you talking to? Let's start there. What? And that's when I feel like Bao could buck up and be like, let's fix our tone. Let's no, we're not doing that. We're not just cut that shit out, nigga. Bow down, bitches. That's exactly what Bao should be saying every time Johnny gets out of his lip and turns to her sideways. Kind of had a quick spasm, but she should really just say that. Bow down, bitches. Just say that to him every time. And if you get the reference, you get the reference. You know. Let's talk about Michaela and Zachariah or Zachary, whatever his full name is. Zach. Let's talk about you and Michaela right now. Now, Michaela has a tendency of not divulging the truth when it comes to having separate time away from her husband and talking to her sister or some of the other ladies about, just the updates on her marriage. And on one hand, I understand kind of keeping your business to yourself. But on the other hand, she is very, she presents this, PC persona as if she can't be as honest as she could be. So when that scene happened between her and her sister's asking her, how's it going? Are we going to see babies? So all these things. I felt like at the very least, Michaela could have been like, you know what? I realize that my anger issues or my way of communicating has been shitty, and it's been a point of contention between me and Zach. Like, she could have said something similar to that, but she didn't. She just like made it a we thing instead of just realizing, hey, I'm just going to own my accountability. And sure, you could name some things about Zach that you're not liking too much and that you're growing to like or growing to deal with. But overall, with Michaela, she just has a tendency of not really being honest and genuine when she's with other people. So that's very interesting to me. And I remember a prior scene between her and Brett. And Brett's asking her, how's it going? And again, Michaela's just giving this PC ass answer, just like, okay, girl, but you was just breaking the Clorox wipes. What are we talking about? While Brett is being honest and transparent about how there's a disconnect between her and Ryan and how she doesn't know if he likes her and she doesn't feel like she's desired by him. And I just really dislike that whenever you're with a friend and you're the one who's honest. You're the one who's pretty open and just authentic in who you are and your experiences, and the other person is completely cut off from that reality. They just present this PC persona. Everything's all good, always good. There's no point of transparency. There's no point of vulnerability. And it just rubs me the wrong way, because with me, I think about myself as I'm very authentic. I'm probably too much of a truth teller, to be very honest with you. Like, I probably say too much. But it's not even on some, I'm going to go in this conversation and say too much. It's just, I just like to be me. I do say the truth within reason, of course, but I also just like to feel like I'm in an environment where I can be honest with said person and not feel judged or manipulated or whatever the case is. So whenever I see someone like a Michaela or anyone else who presents this PC persona, is never vulnerable, is never honest, is never authentic, it just shows me more of who you are. It shows me that you're someone who is not comfortable with yourself, not comfortable with your reality, who is just inauthentic and fake as hell. Fake as hell. Let's go ahead and end it here, you guys. Again, just want to give another promo shot to our Patreon page where you will receive exclusive content to All Things God Built This, whether that's behind the scene, vlog work, or an extra episode of the podcast. If you would like more of me and my lovely voice and my experiences in life and all these great things, check out our Patreon. I don't know why it's mine. You know how people be like, check out our page when it's just yours. Like, it's not. And I'm saying that because, like, I don't have a team yet, so it's really, everything is me. Like, I'm the producer, I'm the writer, I'm the videographer, I'm the photographer, I'm the executor, I'm the creator, I'm the host. It's mine. There's no our, right? Our could be seen as, well, I see you guys or feel you guys as, you know, my listeners, my audience, and I appreciate that, my supporters. So I see it like that with our, but it's my Patreon page. I don't have a team yet. So, again, if you are interested in more content, exclusive content, check out our Patreon page. The link is always in the show notes, so check that out. And another shout out, in case you haven't realized, starting the last episode of this podcast, so the podcast is now released through a new host called Anchor. I previously to that, I've only released episodes through the hosts of SoundCloud, and what that means is I will upload it through GarageBand into SoundCloud, and SoundCloud will then release it to the other platforms that I have it signed up on, right? I've now, since the last episode of this podcast, I've now switched hosts into Anchor. So wherever you are listening to this podcast, you will, I guess, see that switch maybe. So if you used to be a SoundCloud listener, this podcast is no longer available on SoundCloud. That's basically what I'm saying. This podcast is no longer available on SoundCloud. It is available on the platforms that I've released it on. So that's Spotify, that's Anchor, that's Apple Podcasts, of course. And there's also another platform called Google Overcast. Either way, when you look up this podcast, God Built This, you'll see that the new host is Anchor. So check that out and continue to support however you can. Thank you again for listening, and I will check in with you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.